Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to our first episode of Civic Engagement on TASCTV. So I definitely want to um, really introduce our first guest. He's a real special and good friend of mine. His name is Cesar Vargas, and the topic of our conversation today is against all odds, from dreamer to candidate. And nobody can really express this in their story more than Caesar. I met him about 4 years ago when I was working in the mayor's office. Amazing guy with a great personality and a lot that I can learn from. And then finding out that he's a local neighbor of mine, going from being a colleague to a neighbor, and then to becoming a citizen, and then becoming a borough president candidate. So, with further ado, I kind of want to start our conversation with Caesar. He's a good friend of mine. I'm going to let him explain his entire story because, to be honest, I can't do justice of the story that he brings and he's going to talk to us about. So, with that, I'm going to bring Caesar on to really join us. And welcome, Caesar, to our first episode of actually the Civic Engagement Talk on TASC TV. We're going to be having more of these with more grassroots organizers, candidates, former candidates, potential candidates, to really talk about how we as a community can become more involved, especially the Turkish community in the United States. So, Caesar, first of all, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna kick it off with for you to give an introduction to yourself. To be honest, I really can't do justice to you, and also on top of your thing is super long, so I definitely wanted to give you the platform of introduce yourself, and you were a dreamer before, so I wanted you really to give the whole story of yourself, because to be honest, it's very impactful, and I think everybody needs to know.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. This is a great opportunity, and thank you so much for all your work and the support that you all did, especially in this campaign. And but most important, really to highlight the stories of our community and the immigrant community that really resides on Staten Island across the country. For me, it's a story that many of us in the community share. I came to the U.S. when I was just 5 years old. When after my father passed away, my mom try to make ends meet, try to provide for ourselves. But like many people and immigrants before her, living in her home country was very hard, and they took on the decision that we have seen throughout history of leaving their home country for a better life, for a better opportunity. And that's what my mom did. She left everything behind, took her four young children, with myself included, and we crossed the U.S. Mexico border, not knowing what was going to happen, not knowing whether we were actually going to make it with our lives. But it was that courage, it was that support, and it was that heartfelt love that she had for her children, and that commitment to provide a better opportunity, and the American dream, right? The American dream where so many people are trying to pursue in this country. And that's what my story begins. My story is exactly that. And but because of that support, because of that love of her crossing to the US without papers, risking everything, but with that love, she's my hero. Because of her, I was able to graduate high school, graduate college, graduate law school, to be admitted as New York's first undocumented attorney, and making history to open the legal profession to so many immigrants who didn't have documentation, and really solidify this notion that no matter where you come from, you can be an attorney. You can be anything that you want in this country. And because of that, I wanted to continue that. And most recently, I am going to be commissioned as a Judge Advocate Corps attorney in the United States Army as a military lawyer, where I'm going to be representing immigrants and supporting their families to ensure that those who are serving our country can get the privilege of citizenship, and making sure that they have the country supporting them. And that's what I'm committed to do. And that's why I ran. And that's why, even though it was such a short notice, I became a citizen in late February, and then I immediately announced a few days later. For me, it was most important about really telling the stories of our community, telling the story of the immigrant experience in this country, and most important, reminding the nation that all our community, whether you're Latino, African American, whether you're Catholic, Muslim, Christian, you name it. We all deserve the respect that we deserve, and that we deserve equal protection under the law. So that's exactly why I ran, and that's exactly why I'm here, and I'm continuing to do the work to support our communities.
Thank you, Caesar. And I mean, you mentioned so much, like graduating high school, going to college, going to law school, being admitted to the bar, being and then running as a candidate. But you also served in the military as well. I think sometimes some people forget that, but it also played a big part in your life. And you're still, I believe you're a reservist at some point, correct? Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, definitely. So right now, so I enlisted after I became a green card, and that's something that I always wanted to commit, because I do believe that having a presence of those and understanding how our institutions work, including our military, because it is important to have people who, with our experience there, especially in leadership positions. And currently, I am in the United States Army Reserve, and I serve because I want to be able to ensure that our community support, and most importantly, show the immigrant contribution of those who have come before me and those who are currently serving now.
Yeah, and Caesar, thank you for all your service, not in our military, but also in our communities as well. I mean, you mentioned so much, but I think the number one thing I really wanted reason why I wanted to bring you on is because that wasn't easy. It required a lot of hard work, a lot of grassroots work, actually. I remember you in my own home, my parents' home, you literally telling us about the story of like how you had to struggle to go to college, being undocumented, and then from there going to law school, and then like it wasn't easy. And it required a lot of work, and your accomplishments actually opened the doors for a lot of other people, especially those who are undocumented in our communities. And I want to also let people know that undocumented isn't just people who came from the Mexican or the U.S. border. There's also other undocumented community members who aren't from Mexico or from Canada. They're from all over the place. I know one of our good friends, Hina, for example, she was also undocumented and amazing person. Like I think the people you surround in our community and the people you surrounded yourself with in your campaign are the the goal or the community members that we should be showing, and really are really fabrics of our community, and just some small piece of paper is kind of like stopping them from accomplishing their dreams, and they're helping our community beyond other folks. So I kind of wanted to tie this into like some of the hard work that you did as a grassroots worker from high school to going to college, and then running for borough president, because and I wanted to also let people know that when you ran, the election was in June, and you announced in March, so you literally had only a few months, but within that few months, you gained so much traction that people were amazed by that. Even though you didn't win, but the fact that the amount of attention and momentum that you gained within those few months, I think is profound. It really is profound. So I definitely want you to really go into, if you could really just dig into a little bit deeper on like the work that you, your amazing wife, and your amazing team did, just to really build to that moment.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And obviously, your parents were incredible supporters, and I think it was really a moment where we got to see that in Staten Island, one of the most conservative boroughs, very Republican dominated boroughs, it was one of the places that we were able to show across the entire county that there was a support for people who wanted to see something different, who wanted to see neighbors coming together and work with each other to improve our public safety, improve the security of our streets, improve our healthcare system, improve our education system, making sure that everyone had an opportunity to succeed, excel, and achieve a job that they can be proud of, where they're getting paid fair wages. So for me, it was exactly that. And for me, it tied exactly to my story about what many of us in this country live. We are all children of immigrants. We are all immigrants, whether you have been here came here in the Mayflower or just came here a few months ago. We are all immigrants, and at the end of the day, unless you are part of the original indigenous communities of this country, we are all immigrants. And I wanted to remind that this country was based on a commitment for people who are seeking a better opportunity, fleeing persecution, fleeing and looking for a better opportunity. And it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. Unfortunately, in nowadays, we do see that people feel that other people are coming into their country and not being part of, not being called Americans, right? And we're seeing that throughout, especially under the Trump presidency. We saw this where he said that people were not Americans, were people who were not, for example, targeting Muslim communities when he enacted the Muslim ban back in early on in his administration, where people with South Asian or any type of names were viewed with suspicion, and similarly with Latinos. And when he made comments like those quote unquote shithole countries, he was referring to countries where there is African, Latino, and so on. So for me, it was really about reminding that we have to start locally and connecting as neighbors. And for me, it's about that, because I was supported throughout my journey as someone who was undocumented, whether it was for me working at an Italian restaurant as 13 years old, as a busboy, dishwasher, to make to pay to help my parents pay rent, but also the Italian owners who families had were immigrants. They understood the immigrant experience. And also, taking back when I was in high school, my English teacher, who was Latina, supported me along the way and reminded me that no matter my immigration status, I should continue to go on. And college, my college advisor also supported me and knew that I didn't have documentation. I knew that I didn't have a social security number, but still told me to keep studying, still told me to keep and secure my bachelor's degree so I can be something more. And taking it back to law school and the actual fight, the legal battle to win admission into the practice of law, had so many people who had my back to ensure that I was able to be a practicing attorney. So this is what this nation is all about. This nation is about supporting each other, making sure that we are standing as a community. And no matter whether you come from Turkey, no matter whether you come from India, Italy, Mexico, Argentina, Ukraine, we all have to support each other and remind ourselves that we're one species, right? We're the human species, and we need to really respect that and respect each other's religions, respect each other's views, and come together, because at the end of the day, we are in this planet. We need to take care of it, and we need to work together to help each other pursue, like the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So this is what we're all here about, living in this country, and it doesn't have to be this abstract concept. It really needs to be really connected at the ground level, right in your neighborhood. And that's why I ran. That's what my experience told me to, and that's what I learned throughout this whole experience from my parents, from those people who had my back, that we achieve the American dream not because of yourself and just succeeding and forget about everyone else. It's actually about coming back and supporting those people who are coming here into this country and trying to live the American dream as well.
Yeah, honestly, powerful, amazing, inspirational, all at the same time. And we have about like 10 minutes left, and I really just wanted to like really dig in and ask a few questions about, that all that hard work that you've done, and all we could do is like, okay, what can we do, and how can we make an impact? Because you learned a lot. You learned from your mistakes and then your successes. Coming from me as being a Bangladeshi American, and we have members here from the Turkish American community. How can we get more involved to really talk about issues, for example, like immigration, security, and because the thing is, a lot of these issues affect all of us, regardless. Like we all want to make sure our neighbors are safe. We want to make sure our schools are great. We want to make sure that when we bring family to America, that the process is easy. We want to reconnect families. We want to support, our home, our birth, our motherland, that people like to call it, whether it's Mexico, Bangladesh, Turkey. You want to make sure that, people back there also getting the same benefits that we are here, and really building that relationship. Like, oh, and I wanted to dig in, like, and ask you, like, from all the work that you've done, what are best practices for communities that are slowly getting there? I mean, you're kind of our leader on that end, and an inspiration to almost all of us, actually. And if you could let us know, like, whether it's step by step, or just a general summary of, like, what can we do, and that, obviously that also includes working with other communities, but I definitely wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. And one of the really important things, going back to the campaign, you absolutely mentioned about the short timeline that I had. It was, I became a citizen on the end of February, and we needed to start the campaign in the 1st of March. So we only had like about a week to set up an entire operation. And eventually we were able to raise enough money to be one of the most competitive candidates. We were like in the top 3 candidates, raising over $100,000, really getting out the vote, connecting with people, connecting with community members. So we had no political support. We had no, pretty much, we started with no money. And then eventually we garnered in a whole operation that we were getting political support. We were raising a lot of money. We were bringing more people on board. Definitely, obviously, having a week is not as effective as having a year or months to plan it out, but it still shows the power of the community, a power of connecting with people. And going to your point about exactly what can work, I would say it's 3 things. One is connecting with your immediate neighbors. Like, it could literally mean talking to your neighbor next door, across the street, and saying, hey, my name is Cesar. I wanted to just introduce myself. I just moved in here, or I've been here for the past 5 years, and anything you need, let us know. Whenever there's a snow shoveling, exchange contact information. Any emergencies, we need to really connect with each other, literally at the micro level of neighbor to neighbor. So I would definitely start with that. Second, create community forums that will that can touch on critical conversations that impact your community, whether it's something as local as, hey, the garbage not being picked up. Connect people on Facebook or in person, especially in our virtual online world now with COVID-19. We have Skype, we have Zoom, we have Facebook groups, or it could be all traditional, meeting people in your living room, meeting people in a local town hall. Talk about those issues, how you can get involved, about making sure that your garbage is being picked up, making sure that the flooding in your street gets addressed by the local authorities. So I would definitely say connect that. And ultimately, 3 is making sure that we're getting out to vote. We're getting politically active. Especially now in New York City, there's a new law that's about to be implemented, Intro 1867. It's a law that will allow immigrants to vote for the first time in the local election in New York City, in the municipal county. So that's incredible. So if you're a green card holder, if you have a temporary protected status, if you have DACA, or any type of work authorization, you will be able to have a voice in your city, and that is so powerful. But whether you are getting this now or whether you're a U.S. citizen, it's about really getting out and voting. So and it's, yes, I think it's important to take yourself to the voting poll, but also getting your little brother, getting your little sister, getting your big sister. Sometimes we know that politics can be very obnoxious, right? But the power of the vote is so critical for us to really go there. So your vote counts, 1 vote counts, 2 vote counts. So it's really getting out there. So in summary, 1, we need to talk to each other as neighbors. 2, really gather forums, virtual or in person, little groups that can address local and national issues, including pick up your garbage or Ukraine. And 3, voting. We need to really get out to vote, and voting counts as well. So those are my top 3 tips that I would say are I would recommend for our community to really make a difference, to ensure that we can talk to each other, connect with each other, and address the issues that impact our communities at the very local level and at the national, international level.
Thank you so much, Cesar. I mean, very short, for like, 3 very short points, but like they're very effective. And I think that's gonna really help resonate within us and really teach the folks who are watching on how to be more civically engaged and how to be effective when it comes to that. And, I know we're running short on time, but I just wanted to ask, like, one of the biggest issues that we feel as like, especially immigrant communities, like when we when we do go out to vote, and I know I could speak from experience where we had the Bangladeshi community in Brooklyn, for example, and Queens. When we got out to vote, but then our candidate didn't win. How to like make sure we keep that energy going. And I know like the first time it might not happen, but then like once they see a constant cycle, then you start to see your votes and your hard work going. I want to know how you keep that going, because I know obviously the first time you got your community engaged, maybe your candidate didn't win, but how can we make sure that we keep that energy going? Because over time, and sometimes a very short period of time, your candidate will win and your voice will become very powerful. I just wanted to ask you that really quick.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely dispiriting, obviously, when the candidate of your choice does not win. But ultimately, it's about accountability as well. It's not necessarily about who wins, but it's about making sure that those people who are being elected, whether it is your candidate or not, actually get the job done that they have promised to do. We have seen countless times where sometimes the candidates that we do elect and do win don't do the work that we want them to do. So for me, it's really about a commitment to a better world, a better community, a better neighborhood, and I think we need to do that. Remind ourselves that it's not about Caesar. It's not about, because listen, I ran for office, but it may not be me. My race hopefully can inspire my nephews, can inspire those young volunteers that volunteer, and now they say, I want to run for office. So if I can, even if I don't see myself winning, but if I can see them eventually getting involved in politics, incredible. That's an incredible victory. So sometimes victory is not necessarily winning an election. Victory can mean an empowered community that is ready to take control of their future and ready to elevate their voice to be represented in government.
Well, thank you so much, Caesar. I'm hoping that I get a text from you one more time. It's like, hey, I'm running for this. Just so I can tell you right away that we're behind you. Don't worry. You got the Turkish, the Bengali, the Muslim community right behind you on your back. So you can definitely, I'm just waiting for that next text from you on that. But thank you, Caesar, so much. I know, we went a little bit over time, but thank you for taking the time to even chat with us, really give us your insight, your story, and just the amazing work that you've been doing. So definitely keep up the good work. I know us from TASC, we're really excited to work with you and your community on other projects. I know our co-chair, Dr. Halia Muklu, is very excited and very wants to meet you in person. With COVID and everything, we couldn't do that, but you really have inspired a lot of us. Folks who haven't met you and folks who have met you and have been with you for such a long time. So thank you again, Caesar, for really taking the time to really sit with us. I'm gonna make sure I get your wife next on this, because I know it's a power couple thing, So we're gonna make sure that we get both sides on this. So Caesar, thank you again for being our first actual show, and hopefully to have more people here soon and more people like you to really inspire us to, be more engaged in our community and really make a change to help not just our community, but humanity in general, not here at home, but also all over the world. So Caesar, thank you again for being on our show.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, and for everybody else, tune in next week. So we'll have these shows happening weekly. So then we will definitely have more amazing people just like Caesar on our show, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody every week. Again, thank you so much, and thank you for joining TASC Civic Engagement and Grassroots Organizing.